Hello everyone, welcome to the second video in this series of the planning portion. And we've already covered a couple of items. So we've walked through entering tasks, their dependencies, subtasks, and roll-up options in the previous video. And in this video we're going to add resources to the tasks, and we're going to check the schedule without using buffers. We'll see how long the schedule duration is, and in a following video we'll talk about resource staggering. Okay, so let's move into Concerto. Alright, just a reminder, getting back into the system, I've gone to the URL that was provided to me when I signed up in the email, and my username and my password, and I log on to the server. Once I log on, I'll come to a landing page with the videos. Again, it will look something different, something like this, but not the same videos. And I'm going to come to the Project Manager tab. I'm going to come to the Modify screen, which automatically comes up. I'm going to see my project, and I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side and continue network editing. That opens up my planning tab at the top, and it opens up my project that I had been using from the previous video. I have my Tier 1 tasks, my Tier 2 tasks, the dependencies drawn, and some network type roll-up from the Tier 2 to the Tier 1. Okay, so I'm just going to move this over a little bit so I can see my resource panel here, and I'm going to assign resources. Now, if you remember, we had already identified the resources that we're going to use for the project plan. And so over here, before I can really put this project plan into execution, I need to assign some resources. So I need to assign resources to the Tier 2 activities, and we'll talk about how those roll up in a second. And any activity that's a Tier 1 that doesn't have, Tier 2. There may be some activities that don't require Tier 2, but most, I would say, if we do this correctly, we create this network at a fairly high level, not too many Tier 1 tasks. Think about how to bucketize them for release and execution to focus our resource capacity on those Tier 1 groupings. Then most of my Tier 1s will have a number of Tier 2s. So at the Tier 2 level, I will assign resources. So here's some design tasks. I'm going to click in this box here, and I'm going to say, okay, this first one, I need an electrical engineer and maybe a designer, maybe 2 designers. Okay, and this other feature, I might need it's mechanical and a designer. In this next one, I need some electrical, mechanical, and maybe I need 2 mechanical guys, and that's good. And in the feature 4, I'm just going to say, okay, I need 2 designers. Okay, now, so we've assigned the resources to the Tier 2 level, and then those flow up to the Tier 1. If I have my roll-up options on, we can also check over here on the right-hand side. Roll-up for duration is on, as well as resources. If it was not rolling up, or if I wanted to check it, I could check it here and make sure that the auto settings are checked. Another way for me to check if I want everything to be rolled up in my whole project, maybe I've entered a whole bunch of Tier 1 tasks, or a fair amount, and some Tier 2, and I just want to select everything and roll up, make sure everything is rolled up, and so I'll just select everything and save those settings. So that gets the whole project. Okay. I can also go over here and check which ones are on or off. Alright. So the roll up then, let's look at the roll up that occurred here from these subtasks to this Tier 1 activity. And let's just expand this a little bit so we can see everything. Oops. So we can see everything in this box. There we go. Okay. So based on each of these were 2 days of duration. So designer 2, designer 1, designer 2. So overall, I need 1.7 designers on this flow, right? These first two tasks, I need two designers here. I need a designer and two designers up here, right? So these tasks, although they may say start together, we don't have enough capacity to start both of them, but there's enough capacity within the stream, right? This can move forward, it's not going to interfere with these. So there's some, I need 1.7 designers over the length of this tier 1 tasks, and then as long as I'm facilitating the execution of these tier 2s, I'll be in good shape. And this allows me to see the load at the tier 1 level over this entire duration, and it's good enough for use in staggering within a very complex project, multi-year project as an example, with multiple streams, or across projects if we're doing multi-project pipelining, or we're looking at a load across an organization from many projects that might be in work. This is a good enough rolled up estimate of the capacity that's required. Okay, so I have rolled up the resources, and let's assign resources then to the tasks that don't have the tier 2 activities. So kickoff, I'm just going to put the project manager, maybe the engineers that are required, the basic design, and the electrical mechanical designer. Okay, under procurement and manufacturing, let's put a procurement tech and the project manager. And build, let's put maybe the project manager. I don't have an operations guy really here, but let's put quality in there. And then customer acceptance might be just the project manager, possibly procurement tech. Okay. Sorry. Okay, let's put this on the next one, and then this is test. So test is not going to be these guys, maybe the project manager and the automation tech. Okay. All right, so we have resources assigned to everything. So once I have resources assigned to everything, I can run the scheduling algorithms. So what I will do now is just make sure that the scheduling algorithms are set up appropriately. So I'm going to come up here to the Schedule tab. I'm going to come to Parameters. This is the scheduling parameters. And I'm going to run this without any buffers. So I have some presets in here with 50% buffers. I'm just going to not apply buffers right now. I'm just really interested in the duration, the overall cycle time of the project plan, and how the resources are applied. So I'm going to leave on enable resource leveling right now. What that does is down here all the resources are selected to level or to stagger on. I don't need to stagger on all resources. Typically I'm going to stagger on those resources that are most critical for me, the ones I'm most concerned about, the ones that typically I run out of and are in high demand. So for sure those I want to stagger on. The rest, if I stagger on those, then the rest of them will be fine, and I don't need to worry about excessive staggering in the project. So I'm going to select both roll up resources and roll up duration. That's fine. These are kind of the default settings when I create new tasks. Formats and days. If I look at advanced settings, I want these to be 0. I'm not taking any reduction, and it doesn't matter my rounding right now. I'm using a standard calendar as we discussed before, and that's good. I'm going to click submit here, and I'm going to use today's date, 8/25. Now a day has gone by since I used this plan. Okay, so I'm going to use 8/25, which is today's date, as the custom date. I could also move this out if I wanted to a custom date. Okay, I'm going to submit, and then I'm going to come up here to the scheduling options, and underneath scheduling options is generate. Okay, and this is the first option that we use to generate the schedule. And if I have buffers selected, it would insert buffers, but that will be later down the road a little bit. So I'm just going to generate to see how long, based on the dependencies that I have in the project, how long this project takes. So I click generate, it goes into scheduling mode, and it's processing, and it comes out with the critical chain here listed in red. You notice there's no buffers. We go from the very beginning of today to the end of the project. it opens up automatically a milestone window and a CC analysis window when I generate schedules. So here I see the milestone for the project end. Its due date we had set previously, yesterday, when I was working on this project. That's of course the projected date of 10/20/2023 incorporates the length of time, the 41 days of critical chain, from 8/25 to 10/20. Okay, so 41 days, those are working days. So we have scheduled 5 days a week, 8 hours a day in this engineering environment. So this is essentially 4 weeks in 1 day of execution, so a couple of months, right? And over here in the resource side, you see that we are staggering on all resources. There is no resource contention here, meaning there's no need for additional resource staggering. So even if I turn this off and didn't use any of these for staggering and ran schedule again, I would get the same duration, right? If that was not the case, if there was resource contention, then if I unchecked this, the project would be shorter, and I would remove the contention, but then I would have that contention. So I have to resolve that contention in some way, all right, for those key resources that I'm most concerned about. Okay, so this is, remember, this is how we stagger on resources. It doesn't have to be every resource. It could be just the designers and the electrical engineer that I'm worried about. I don't want them to be spread thin, so maybe I only want to stagger on those two. And you can do your what if analysis on those. Now, if I want to see the load over time, say I have some resource contention and I know which resources are having that contention, and I can come here to the graph. I can view the graph. I can show the max capacity for that resource. There's one max capacity, and I can see where that capacity is used in the different weeks. These are weekly buckets. I can move to the daily bucket and so on. So this way I can check my interesting. Capacity line is changing between daily and weekly. That shouldn't happen, so that looks like a bug. Regardless, I know I have on the electrical engineering side, I only have one electrical engineer. So this is my capacity line and my load over time. So there's a way for me to look at those loads over time within the project. And if I see those overloads, to address them, right? I can either allow Concerto to stagger the work, or I can add dependencies in order to stagger the work. Probably the later choice. If our networks are simple enough and at the right level, then that might be the right choice. So I want to stagger those tier 1 tasks to eliminate some of those overloads. We can do that automatically, or we can think about how I want those tasks to be staggered. Okay, so in this video we have talked about how to add resources to the tasks and the subtasks, how the roll-up options work for resources. We've run schedule without buffers to check our overall cycle time to see if the cycle time is sufficient or not. We've looked at which resources we might want to level load over. We don't need to level load off all of them. We can review the loading graphs to make some decisions, and possibly even accepting some small overloads on non-critical resources, as those will work out in execution. Very good. So the next video, what I'd like to cover is the insertion of some focusing milestones and the use of task managers in execution. Okay, thanks. Bye.